The news, as they say. Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, always great to see you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So your big news was?
My big news is that I am entering the governor's race to run to be the next governor of the state of Wisconsin.
All right, so you always got to ask the why question. Why you, why now?
A great question. I mean, one, I spent 7 years in the state capitol, so I know exactly how Madison works, and I've been able to get a lot done with our legislature. And for the past 5 years, I have been leading the largest and most populated county in the state of Wisconsin. I represent close to 1 million people. I also manage one of the largest budgets. And the issues that we have been able to tackle have been things that matter to Wisconsin families. Things like public safety, public health, fiscal recovery. We've invested in small businesses. We've created more affordable and attainable housing. We've made government more accessible, and we've cut taxes. And so I know that I'm the only candidate in this race who not only has legislative experience, but also experience running a government.
Now, you know what the critics say. Milwaukee City, Milwaukee County can't get their act together. We got crime, blah, blah, blah. It's on the text line every day. I read it. I read all those texts. What's your response to that as leading the biggest county in the state?
Well, every community, large community across the entire country has its share of challenges. But I want to be very clear. I'm not a city mayor. I represent Milwaukee County, which is 19 different municipalities and cities and villages of all different sizes. And you know what? I haven't just pulled and done things for Milwaukee County. We figured out how to deliver for residents across the entire state. I led a coalition to bring back more money to communities of all sizes in Wisconsin, back from Madison, so folks can invest in things like public safety, invest in fixing the damn roads, and invest in things that makes the quality of life for their residents that much better.
I think people forget that. It's the Oak Creek, it's the Franklin, it's the West Dallas, West Milwaukee, all of those, the ring suburbs. That's part of your leadership.
That is a part of my leadership. So it's not just the city. I represent a plethora of people. Again, it's almost 1 million people in the county.
So if somebody asked you, and they probably will on the road today, because you're going to be all over the place as part of your announcement, what are you most proud of the work that you have done in Milwaukee County? Just one or two things you think are really good examples of your leadership.
Well, one, I would say, Act 12, being able to, not only benefit Milwaukee County, but all communities across this state. Act 12 was extremely huge, being able to provide not only the services and programs that people rely on, but it helped with the $3.2 billion pension reform. We helped to cut taxes, the largest property tax cut in our county's history. And so that really helped us moving forward, but it didn't solve all of our problems. And I know that with the work that we have been able to do, the investments we've been able to make, we can scale that up for every community across this state.
As the chief executive of Milwaukee County, how are you prepared to go around the state? Will you go around the state talking to voters?
Absolutely, we'll be going around the state. Folks want a governor who not only listens, but understands the issues on the ground. And it's important that those who are directly impacted can lend their voices to the solutions. And so I plan on going all across this state, listening to as many people as possible, because I do know that the biggest thing that folks are worried about is how are they going to be able to afford the things that they need moving forward, being able to afford their rent or mortgage, being able to put food on the table, being able to afford health care. Those aren't Democratic or Republican issues. Those aren't just Milwaukee issues. Those are issues that Wisconsin voters care about.
Let's take it beyond Milwaukee County. If you're running for governor, it's the whole state. It's all 72 counties. You said issues. What do you think is on the minds? And you haven't gone out to all 72 counties yet, I'm guessing. What do you think is on the minds of those citizens of this state?
Well, right now, what's on the minds of citizens across this state is how are we going to lessen the affordability crisis on families, right? And people are getting less even if they're making more money. And we need to figure out how do we bring them some level of relief. And I know what it's like to struggle. I, growing up, was evicted 3 times before I graduated high school. I know what it's like not to know how your bills are going to get paid or how you're going to put food on the table. And while I recognize that there's only so much that we can do with a lot of the economic chaos that we're seeing in our state and across our country, that doesn't mean that we can't put up a plan and we can't work hard to provide that relief. And so we're going to talk about the issues of affordability, but we also need to talk about the need for more good-paying, family-sustaining jobs, the need to fully fund our public schools, as well as having access to affordable health care.
I got a specific question about the federal government and how it plays into Milwaukee County, and that's related to FEMA and disaster we recently had. But on that that concept, you have made a case, and I've talked to other Republican leaders who say you are very good at this, at working across the aisle. But when you're governor of the state of Wisconsin, you have to work with the president of the United States. How do you sort out that relationship? Because the president of the United States, the current president, Donald J. Trump, has not been real friendly to Democratic governors, and probably not to the degree that those of us here, and that's the FEMA part of this, would like to see.
You know, what folks, here in the state of Wisconsin understands, if you're workers, that you don't have to like your worker in order to get things done. You don't have to like your colleague or your coworker to get things done. And I've been the county executive under the first Trump administration, now his second administration, as well as Biden's administration. And we've been able to deliver for the people of Milwaukee County with a Republican-controlled legislature. So no matter what, I am willing to work with whoever I need to bring resources that's going to move our state forward.
If you were lucky enough to be the nominee and then governor of the state of Wisconsin, would you meet with the president when he came into Wisconsin?
I would always meet with the president. I respect the position, and I think it's important to respect the position. But we don't have to compromise on our values to get things done. And I'm always willing to pull up a seat at the table to work on behalf of the people I represent.
Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley joining us now, a Democratic nominee for the nomination for governor of the state of Wisconsin. From the text line, budget surplus is something that comes up a lot on our conversations on this program and on our station. How would you sort that out? What would you do with that budget surplus? That's, I think, $4 billion or something like that.
Well, one, I think it's important to talk to the voters, right? People are having their own issues. Every community isn't the same, so we can't have a cookie-cutter approach to solving the issues across this state. And so what I would do looking at this surplus is look at, okay, how can we bring more affordable housing units online and attainable, right? We have to tackle the housing situation from both sides. And when I say affordability, those are for individuals who can't necessarily afford the rent. But there are people who make money at all income levels who can afford a home, yet there isn't a housing stock available for them. So how do we make sure that we're tackling the housing crisis? That helps with building up our property tax base. That helps with building up great neighborhoods. How do we invest in small businesses? Many of our entrepreneurs who are going to be hiring the individuals who work locally in our community, helping give a jolt to that local economy. But it's important that, again, we talk to our legislators, we talk to our community, and we come up with a vision that helps everybody, because we want to make sure that when the tide rises, all the boats rise.
Any specifics that you can highlight that's something that seems like a no-brainer? Healthcare, something like that.
Childcare. You're hitting on a few of them. Childcare, healthcare, public schools. Like, how do we fully fund our public school systems, making sure that our children are not just ready for the employment opportunities that are here now, but how do we really set them up for what our economy looks like in the future? And it's hard for our young people, our kids, to even worry about their schooling when they don't know where they're going to lay their head down at night, when they don't know how they're going to eat that evening. And that's why housing has to be a part of this. But when we're talking about young families, right, my youngest daughter is turning 6 later on this year. And so last year I was grateful when I had to stop paying for childcare and daycare, because it is expensive. And for many folks, not only is it expensive, they might not even have access to a child care facility in general. So we need to figure out, how do we put our state in the best position to make sure that our families, working families, can get caught up and can feel like they can get a piece of that American dream again.
I know you got a busy schedule. 2 quick ones. The Milwaukee County Act, or something you worked on that you're most proud of?
The Milwaukee County Act that I am most proud of. Oh, wow. I would say the Housing First work that we have done. In the past 5 years, Milwaukee County, we've been recognized of having the lowest unsheltered homeless population per capita than any other community our size across the country. And the level of affordable housing and attainable housing that we have built, as well as how we've been tackling the opioid epidemic, will be some of my highlights.
And I can verify that, because I've talked to some people who have worked on that efforts. If you pay attention to something, you can actually make progress, and that's something that Milwaukee County should be proud of.
Absolutely.
And this is sort of a fun one. What'd your wife say when you decided to make this decision?
My wife kind of gave me the side eye, right? Because, I've
experienced that as well.
She assumed that this would come up, but, neither one of us thought it would be happening this quick. But I am glad and extremely happy that my better three-quarters is with me 100%.
Yeah. Some say the smarter one.
She is the smarter one. I'm married up.
There you go. As did I. Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, now a candidate for governor. As always, thanks for sharing your time.
Thank you for the moment.
All right, lots more to come. We got Mary Kuhn mentioned Jim Santel on all the legal aspects of all things this administration and beyond. That's coming up on Point Taken, 620 WTMJ.